"Do you think you can erase me, Rachel?" I whispered to the note that shattered my world, vowing to reclaim every piece they stole. "Hi there, I'm Hannah." 3 months before my wedding, I found a note on my parents' dining table. "Weddings canceled. Expect a call from my attorney." No call, no explanation, just silence. But that wasn't the worst part. They used my wedding plans for someone else. My own sister. My money, my venue, even my dress, reassigned like I was never part of it. "You're nothing without us," Diane taunted. Her words a dagger I'd prove wrong. What kind of family does that? And what happened 72 hours later? I promise it changed everything. I arrived at my parents' house earlier than usual that morning. The sun hadn't fully risen, casting a faint, hazy purple light across the windows of the quiet Boise neighborhood. My heart raced, sensing a trap I couldn't yet see. I'd planned to drop off the final dessert samples and the freshly printed programs before heading to work. Everything had been scheduled down to the minute these last few months, and I'd been careful not to overstep. Especially with my mother, I let myself in through the back door, as always. No voices, no faint hum of the morning news, not even the soft clatter of Mom's favorite coffee mug. The house felt still. Then I saw it. A single sheet of paper lay folded on the dining table, where Mom usually left cheerful sticky notes about caterer callbacks or table settings. But this wasn't her usual handwriting. This wasn't purple ink with gentle swirls. This was red, stark, and cold. "Weddings canceled. Expect a call from my attorney." That was it. No greeting, no signature, no damn explanation. For a moment, my body froze. No breath, no movement. My mind went blank, as if it couldn't process that 6 words had just obliterated everything I'd been planning for the last 18 months. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I didn't even text my fiancé, Ethan. Instead, I picked up my phone and typed one word back to my mother. "Received." "You'll regret this," I muttered, my voice trembling with fury. I drove home in complete silence. The roads were nearly empty, but I couldn't hear the purr of the engine or the soft thump of tires over asphalt. The betrayal burned, a fire in my chest I couldn't douse. It felt like my soul had checked out, leaving me to sift through the rubble. I didn't go to work that day. I didn't call anyone. I sat on the edge of my recliner, still in my boots, replaying every conversation from the past month. What had I missed? Was it when I pushed back on the guest list size? Or when I told Rachel she couldn't bring her new boyfriend as a +1? No, this wasn't impulsive. This wasn't a spat. Someone had orchestrated this. By nightfall, I still hadn't heard from them. Not one call, not even a follow-up to that note. But I got something else. A text from my cousin Allison popped up. "Hey, I think this was sent to me by mistake, but you need to see it." Attached was a screenshot of a group chat titled "Thompson Family Wedding Updates." My heart raced as I scanned the names. Diane, Rachel, Gordon. They'd been planning a restructured celebration, the same venue, the same guest list, just with Rachel. Rachel, my younger sister, newly engaged, was now the star of the event that was once mine. The caterer's invoice had been updated, swapping out my name. The photographer's revised schedule listed Rachel and Caleb as the couple. I wasn't just removed, I was replaced. I stared at the screen, reading the same message over and over. Rachel had even quipped in one text, "Now the photos will actually pop." My mom replied with a thumbs-up emoji. My fingers shook. My vision blurred. Not from tears, but from the kind of rage that only comes when someone betrays you with a grin. "How dare you?" I whispered, my voice a raw edge. The worst part? I'd let them handle the venue. I'd trusted them with the deposits, the accounts, the bookings, because they were family, because they said it was simpler that way. simpler to erase me. I thought back to when Mom insisted we choose a versatile dress. Something classic, she'd said, so you don't steal focus from the day. It's not about you, she'd added, her tone sharp, cutting. Or when Dad said he'd cover the final payment, don't stress, honey, we've got it handled. But this wasn't about money. It wasn't about taste or logistics. This was deliberate. They didn't just yank the rug out from under me, they'd rolled me up in it and tossed me out while replacing me with a smile. And they didn't think I'd fight back. They'd misjudged me terribly. I opened a new folder on my laptop titled Evidence, screenshots, receipts, texts. I dragged everything in one by one. No one would believe me without proof. But I wasn't doing this to persuade anyone. I was doing it to shield myself from this day forward. Because now I understood something I should have seen years ago. They never meant to share the stage with me. I was just a placeholder until someone shinier came along. As I stared at that digital folder filling with evidence, my voice came out barely above a whisper. They think I won't fight. That's the only thing they got wrong. I'll make them choke on their lies, I vowed, my resolve hardening. I didn't always stay silent. I used to push back until they taught me it wasn't worth it. Over the years, I learned that arguing with people who only valued me when they needed something was like pouring water into a broken jar. Pointless. And now, with that folder growing on my laptop, I sat motionless, letting memories drift in like mist over the Snake River. 3 months before that note appeared on the dining table, I had a dress fitting at a boutique Diane had raved about, the same one she'd used for her own wedding decades ago. I was anxious that day not about the dress, but because I knew Diane wouldn't show. She'd already started pulling away, dodging calls, skipping planner meetings. You're too demanding, she'd snapped when I asked her to confirm the florist. But I held on to hope that this moment might reconnect us. She didn't come, but someone else did. Rachel. She sauntered in late, iced coffee in hand, feigning surprise. Oh, I didn't realize you'd be here, she said, flashing that practiced smile she used on baristas and co-workers. The boutique owner looked puzzled. You're not the bride. Rachel laughed like it was a silly mix-up. Not yet, she said, just passing by and thought I'd stop in. She sat on the silk bench and started scrolling her phone. I stood there, half in my dress, staring at her like she'd invaded my shadow. You don't belong here, I wanted to scream, but my voice caught. When I stepped out to check the mirror, she snapped a photo. This lighting's unreal, she said, not asking. I should have left then. The next day, the boutique emailed me. Final alterations complete per updated measurements. Order ready for pickup under Rachel Thompson. They'd taken my dress. Not figuratively, literally. My name was off the invoice, and the boutique said it was per family request. Family? Family? I whispered to the empty room, my voice breaking with betrayal. I didn't reply. I just sat at my desk for hours, hands cupped around a tea mug that went cold twice. At some point, I opened the boutique's Instagram out of habit, and there it was. A reel, a polished montage tagged with pine cones and the caption, "Thrilled for Rachel's perfect winter wedding." I watched it. Rachel walked down the aisle in my dress, in my venue with my harpist playing the melody I'd chosen for my entrance. Every frame gleamed like a Pinterest board. Diane and Gordon glowed with pride. They toasted sparkling cider. They hugged Rachel like she was the family's centerpiece. And not once was I mentioned. No thank you, no photo tucked in a corner, not even a tag on social media. I wasn't even a ghost at the party. I stared at the screen in stunned silence. The comments rolled in like snowflakes. She's radiant. Deanne raised such a stunning bride. This family knows how to plan a wedding. The lies stung, each comment a fresh wound. The irony nearly made me choke. That night, I waited until the apartment was quiet before calling Ethan. He was in Seattle wrapping up a last-minute contract. I hadn't told him about the note or the video. I wanted to shield him from the chaos, but I knew he deserved the truth. His voice came through, steady but wary. "Hannah, I was getting worried." "I haven't told you everything," I said, my voice shaking. "You haven't seen it, have you?" "Seen what?" I paused. "Never mind. They canceled it. My parents left a note." "What?" His voice dropped. "They canceled our wedding?" "Not canceled," I said. "Stolen. They gave it to Rachel." He went quiet for a moment, then said evenly, "Do you want to sue them?" "Sue them?" I echoed, my voice rising. "I want to burn their lies to the ground." I inhaled slowly. "Not yet, but I've started saving everything." Saying it aloud made it real. It anchored me. Ethan didn't need to say more. He listened. "I'm with you," he said softly, a promise that steadied my heart, and in that moment, I was grateful for silence that didn't feel like abandonment. After we hung up, I sat alone in the living room, lights low, just me and the faint glow of my laptop. I clicked play on the reel again. Frame by frame, I watched Rachel twirling on the dance floor in the satin I'd paid for, Diane clutching her hands to her chest, faking tears, Gordon clinking glasses with Caleb like nothing had ever been messy. Then came the toast. Diane stood at the head table, glass raised, camera catching her glistening eyes. "To the daughter who made the family proud," she said. I hit pause, finger hovering over the spacebar, but I couldn't press it again. That one sentence echoed louder than the harpist ever could. I rewound, listened again. Not a daughter, not our daughters, just the daughter. She was right, though. Rachel had made them proud because she played their game. She kept quiet. She never questioned their choices. She smiled when they told her who to love, what to wear, where to stand. I used to think I was the rebel, the let down. But maybe all I did wrong was try to live a life they couldn't control. I closed the laptop slowly, the soft click settling into silence. "They think they erased me," I whispered, "but I'm the one who remembers everything. And I'll make sure the world does too," I added, my voice a vow. My laptop stayed closed on the dining table long after the screen went dark. I sat still, surrounded by silence that didn't feel calm anymore. It felt heavy, like the kind of silence that dares you to break. I didn't. Not yet. Instead, I stood, walked to the shelf I rarely opened, and pulled out my old phone, the one with the chipped screen I stopped using after my last promotion. It was mostly junk now, but it held photos, voicemails, and voice memos from years back. Told myself I was looking for something useful, maybe old vendor quotes or a contact from early wedding planning. But deep down, I was searching for proof. I wasn't imagining this. I needed evidence their betrayal wasn't new. I scrolled through folders until one labeled Winter Brunch 2020 caught my eye. My finger lingered. That Christmas brunch had been tense. Diane was oddly distant. Rachel kept bragging about a PR gig she hadn't even landed. Dad was glued to a basketball game. I remembered stepping out to clear my head after Rachel snapped at me for always taking things too personally. I'd left my phone recording on the table by accident. When I pressed play, the clatter of dishes filled the room again. Then Diane's voice, too polished, too casual. "She's a good kid," she said. I knew she meant me, but she's not like Rachel. Not ambitious, not exceptional. She's okay. That word okay cut deeper than any insult. It wasn't anger or rejection. It was erasure, like I was a faded painting in their house, not worth replacing. She doesn't strive. She's settled. And that's fine. But Rachel... Rachel's got star quality. She'll never shine like me, Rachel's voice chimed in, smug and cruel. I stopped the recording. I didn't need more. My face didn't flush. My heart didn't race. I just sat, jaw tight, staring out the window as a jogger passed by, carefree. So this was the narrative they'd spun for years. That I was okay, and not worth rooting for. But it hadn't always been like that. There was a time, fleeting as it was, when I fought back. Miles. 8 years ago, he'd been the first person I truly opened up to. The kind of man who planned hiking trips and left handwritten notes in my mailbox. I remember the evening he invited me to Mikkel. Just us. We were supposed to leave Saturday morning. Instead, I woke to a text. "Hannah, I'm sorry, I can't do this. I think your family was right. I'm not enough." No argument, no second chance, just silence after that. For years, I thought he'd just lost interest. Maybe found someone less complicated. But now, those words echoed differently. My family was right. He didn't say you were wrong. He said they were right. Back then, I couldn't face it, so I buried it. Never told anyone, not even Ethan. I reached for my water glass and stared at the wet ring it left on the table. I wasn't crying. There weren't tears left for that version of myself. Instead, I stood and walked to the cupboard above the pantry. That's where I kept the documents. The lease I signed alone. The receipts from the wedding venue. A printed budget Diane had insisted on managing to keep things tidy, she'd said. Every page I pulled confirmed something darker than oversight. This wasn't a mess. It was a plan. The kind that erased me slowly, so by the time I noticed, I'd already vanished. They'd taken my wedding, my voice, my dress. What else had they stolen in the name of family? "Everything," I whispered, the realization a gut punch. The worst part wasn't what I found. It was how easy it was to find. A clean sweep. No record of deposits under my name. No acknowledgement of my payments. The guest list, edited months ago, had my email scrubbed. The floral arrangements were now listed under Rachel T. My entire existence wiped out. I whispered the question again, a whisper that didn't feel abstract anymore. What else have they taken? "My life," I answered myself, my voice raw with truth, and for the first time, I didn't feel ashamed for asking. That moment of clarity was shattered by my phone's sharp ring. Unknown number. I usually ignored those, but something in my gut said to answer. "Hannah?" The voice was hesitant, familiar. I didn't speak right away. "It's Miles." "Why now?" I demanded, my voice sharp with years of buried pain. The room tilted slightly, not from shock but from recognition. This wasn't a ghost, it was a missing piece. I leaned forward, hand on my temple, a familiar pressure built behind my eyes. I kept my voice even. "I'm listening." Miles didn't waver once I said I was listening. "She threatened me, Hannah. I didn't know what to do." His voice broke, but I stayed silent. I needed the full truth, not solace. "She didn't just tell me to leave, she called my boss. My supervisor said I was tied to someone with emotional issues, that you were unstable, needed constant support, and our relationship was harming you, that I was making it worse." I gripped the edge of the table, steadying myself. My knuckles ached from how tightly I held the phone. I said nothing, but inside something crumbled, not like a house collapsing, but like a wall, cracking until the flood breaks through. "She said if I really cared about you, I'd walk away so you could heal, and I believed her." I thought I was helping. He paused. I could hear the guilt, the burden he'd carried. "I'm sorry, it doesn't fix it." "No, it doesn't!" I snapped, my voice trembling with rage. "But it proves they've been lying for years." I nodded, though he couldn't see. My voice was calm, almost lifeless. "It doesn't, but thanks for telling me." We didn't say goodbye. I hung up, set the phone down, and stared out the window where the street light cast a pale glow over empty pavement. Then I picked up my thoughts like broken glass, piecing them into a timeline. The pattern was undeniable now. not just in retrospect, but in cold, calculated detail. Control. Diane didn't just block my path, she demolished it and told me I couldn't navigate. The next morning, I sat at the dining table, coffee gone cold. My fingers hovered over Ethan's contact. He hadn't reached out in days, and I'd appreciated the space, but now I needed answers only he could give. When he answered, his tone was guarded. "Hey, I need you to be honest," I said. "Right now." A pause, long enough for me to picture him on his balcony, hand on his neck like he did when he felt trapped. "I know what this is about," he said. "And you're right to ask." He told me about the day he visited my parents' house months before he proposed. "She pulled me into the study. Your dad wasn't there. She had a binder. Said it was to help me make an informed choice before the engagement." He sighed. "It had copies of your old bank statements from college, notes about your anxiety after graduation, even a hospital bill from when you passed out at your old job. She said she kept them for emergencies." "And the prenup?" I asked. He hesitated. "She had one drafted. Said it was to protect the family's assets if things didn't work out." "Did you sign it?" "No, but I didn't tell you either. I didn't want to start a fight." "A fight?" I snapped, my voice rising. "They were sabotaging us, and you stayed silent?" "A fight? As if there hadn't already been a chasm." "Thank you," I said, and hung up before I said something I couldn't undo. I stood, walked to my closet, and pulled a small lockbox from the back. Inside were the documents Diane had always said to keep just in case. The venue deposit receipt with my name, the floral invoice paid through my charity's account opened 7 years ago, and at the bottom, in a pale blue envelope, was the budget agreement she'd given me 3 months ago. I'd signed it without much thought. She'd said it was to streamline costs. What I held now wasn't a budget. It was a contract, a silent transfer of assets, a tool to shift everything to Rachel. I stared at the signature line, mine, above a clause, authorized financial reassignment for family redistribution purposes. They didn't just cancel my wedding, they reassigned my life. I returned to the living room and dropped the papers on the table. I didn't cry, I didn't scream, but I moved with a new clarity, one I hadn't felt in years. I opened my laptop, created a new folder, and labeled it Reckoning. Then I emailed Diane. Subject: "This stops here." The message was brief, sharp, precise. "You've taken enough. If you keep going, I'll take back everything. Legally, publicly, permanently. This is your only warning." "You've awakened a storm," I whispered as I hit send, my voice fierce. I hit send, and for the first time in ages I felt the tightness in my chest ease, not because I was finished, but because I'd begun. I didn't wait for her reply. I shut the laptop, pushed my chair back, and walked to the window. The sun was rising, casting a soft golden light across the empty street, the kind of light that feels like a reckoning. I stood there longer than I meant to, arms crossed, heartbeat steady but heavy. I wasn't expecting peace. Not from them, not from this. But I thought maybe the silence would hold a little longer. It didn't. A buzz from my phone pulled my eyes to the screen. Notification from Instagram. Rachel had posted something. I hesitated, thumb hovering. Then I tapped. Her post was long, polished, the kind someone crafts in front of a mirror over coffee while adjusting a ring they didn't earn. She called me erratic, accused me of spinning lies, of a history of emotional instability. She claimed I was fracturing the family, lashing out because I couldn't handle not being the star. Diane had liked the post. Gordon left a smile emoji. My stomach churned, but I didn't cry. I didn't pace or smash the phone like I might have years ago. Instead, I opened my screenshot tool, captured the post, the comments, the timestamps, and saved them to Reckoning. If they thought this would break me, they hadn't been paying attention. "You've just lit the fuse," I muttered, my voice low and dangerous. I poured myself a glass of water, sat at the dining table and studied the post again. Not to read, but to analyze the responses. Old family friends chimed in, vague but pointed. "So sorry you're dealing with this, Rachel. Some people can't move on." They were trying to shame me into silence, but they didn't realize I'd quit their game. I tapped Natalie's contact. She answered on the third ring. "Hannah?" Her voice was tense, careful. "Hey, I saw Rachel's post. You okay?" "I saw it," I replied. "Can we meet up? I could use a friend." She inhaled sharply, then exhaled like she was bracing for bad news. "I don't think that's wise," she said. "Your mom's got influence here, Hannah? She got my sister that internship at the firm, and after that mess with your aunt's estate? I can't risk it." She added quickly, "No offense. It's just messy." "Messy?" I shot back, my voice sharp. "Cowardice is messy. Choose a side, Natalie." I thanked her anyway, hung up and sat there, letting the moment settle, not as betrayal, but as proof. Diane's reach didn't stop at the doorstep. It ran through Boise like a hidden wire no one dared cut. I took my time that afternoon, vacuumed the rug, scrubbed the sink, fed the fern by the window, let the silence stretch. Not out of avoidance, but because I needed space to think without their static. At dusk, I called Rachel. She answered like she'd been waiting. "Finally ready to talk?" "I'm only saying this once," I said, voice low and steady. "Take down the post." A beat of silence, then laughter. Not amused, but cruel, the kind she used in college when she knew she had allies. "You can't seriously think anyone buys your story now," she said. "You sound delusional." "Just like Mom warned." "Delusional," I snapped, my voice a blade. "I've got proof that'll bury you both." "I'm not asking for belief," I said. "I'm asking for space. If you keep this up, I won't stay quiet. I won't just defend myself. I'll unravel every lie you're hiding behind. Is that what you want?" "Is that a threat?" she snapped. "No," I said. "It's a line. I'll hold mine. Whether you hold yours is on you." I ended the call before she could answer. 2 hours later, as the sky faded to a deep indigo, there was a knock at my door. I wasn't expecting anyone. I checked the peephole. A woman in a courier uniform held an envelope. "Courier delivery for Hannah Thompson." I signed, thanked her, and shut the door. The envelope was thick, premium paper. I sat on the couch, slid a finger under the seal, and pulled out a crisp document, legal notice of removal, beneficiary revocation. The language was sterile, formal, numbered. As of this date, Hannah Thompson is hereby removed from all family estate considerations, including property, financial trusts, and personal assets managed by the Thompson Family Trust. No reasons given. At the bottom, in neat slanted ink, a single line. "As of now, you are no longer considered part of this family's future." I stared at it, felt no rush of anger, no nausea, just a slow breath leaving my chest. I folded the paper carefully, set it beside the screenshots, and stood. They thought they'd buried me, but all they'd done was draw a boundary. And for the first time in my life, I was ready to cross it. "You've just made your last mistake," I whispered, my voice a promise. I didn't sit down right away. My feet took me to the bookshelf across the room, one I hadn't touched since last summer. On the top shelf, behind a row of old novels and dusty candles, sat a faded red binder and a USB drive labeled Financial Backup. I laid them on the dining table and opened my laptop. There were 2 versions of myself in that spreadsheet, the woman they saw, scattered, trailing, always a step behind, and the woman they didn't, precise, ready, silent, because numbers don't need to shout. It took nearly 4 hours to go line by line. I traced every PayPal transfer Rachel had marked urgent, every bank draft where I covered their phone bill just until Dad's commission comes through, every caterer receipt they claimed I hadn't paid. By the end, the total was just over $47,000, 0 cents. I printed the pages, slid them into clear sleeves, and filled the binder. Then I labeled it Ledger of Truth. I wasn't building a case, I was building a fortress they couldn't ignore. Around noon the next day, I stepped out for a walk to clear my head. I didn't get 3 blocks before my phone buzzed. Login failed. Shared Google Drive folder, Thompson's family planning. Another buzz. Access revoked, joint savings account. I stopped on the sidewalk. The world didn't spin, it sharpened. I called the bank immediately, hitting 0 until I got a person. I need to verify activity on an account I co-managed, I said, voice flat. The rep pulled it up. A change was filed last night. A power of attorney form from Mr. Gordon Thompson, revoking your co-ownership. Was it notarized? Yes, ma'am. Then check my file, I said. I'm sending documents now. Until this is resolved, freeze the account. That money's in dispute. She paused, but my tone didn't waver. Within 15 minutes, the freeze was confirmed. I didn't feel victory. I felt something cleaner, like realigning a joint that had healed wrong. You can't outrun the truth, I muttered, my resolve steeled. Back home, I made another folder for public record. Inside went everything proving my story wasn't a tale. It was a ledger. Texts from Rachel promising repayment, emails with Diane about shared costs, digital contracts signed in my name for venue services now credited to them. I didn't plan to share them, but I wanted them ready. People like my family didn't fear arguments, they feared exposure, not with tears, but with proof. And proof was something I'd always kept. I closed the laptop, stood, and made coffee. The act was small, routine, but it grounded me. My hands didn't tremble as I poured. My breath didn't catch when I sat down. I wasn't waiting for them to fix it anymore. I wasn't even waiting for justice. I was laying groundwork. At 8:43 p.m., my phone rang. An unknown number, but I knew the area code. My old banker's office. I answered on the second ring. Ms. Thompson. Yes? This is Kristen from Cascade Financial. You should come in tomorrow. We got a document this morning listing your signature, but something felt off. What document? It's about property reassignment, partial title transfer on a home under the Thompson family umbrella. We flagged it because your file shows no prior authorization. Do you still have it? Yes. Keep it safe. I'll be there at 9:00. She paused. Bring any legal paperwork that contradicts it. I glanced at the binder on my table. I've got more than enough. They're about to learn what happens when you forge my name, I said under my breath. After the call, I turned off all the lights but one by the stove. I stood there, the glow catching the binder's edge. They taught me to be polite, to lower my voice, to apologize even when I wasn't wrong. But they never taught me what to do when I stopped caring about their opinions. And now, they'd picked the wrong thing to fake. Morning came with a bite that wasn't just the weather. My shoes clicked through the bank's lobby, muffled by thick carpet, but my steps were deliberate. I'd worn black, sharp, understated. I didn't need to shine today. I needed to stand firm. At 9:30 a.m., the front desk buzzed. Hannah! Lisa, the receptionist, called across the office. There's a delivery for you. I turned as a woman in a navy coat stepped forward, holding a document envelope and a clipboard. Hannah Thompson? She asked, face blank. I nodded. You've been served. She handed me the envelope, had me sign, and left before I could speak. I walked back to my desk slowly, sat, and tore the seal. Civil complaint, Thompson v. Thompson. I scanned it. Pages of exaggerated claims. They accused me of misappropriating family funds for the original wedding, claimed I'd approved venue upgrades beyond agreed budgets, that I'd shown repeated emotional volatility making me unfit to handle financial matters. My name was warped into a portrait of disorder. The lawsuit didn't just want money. It wanted to brand me unreliable, unstable, a risk. The office hummed too quietly. I felt glances dart my way and vanish. I closed the packet, opened my email, and typed, subject, defamation claim, Thompson family. Add this filing to our counterclaim. Defamation, malicious intent, reputational harm. Let's move fast. They want a war? I'll give them one, I muttered, my voice a low growl. I didn't need loud vengeance. I needed vengeance with a case number. That afternoon the pass swung wide open. A call hit my work line from an unfamiliar number. This is Hannah. Hannah, it's Marcus Reed. I leaned back. Marcus had been my mother's PR fixer for years. The one who turned Diane's missteps into feel-good quotes. The one who told reporters our family was unbreakable when rumors of mismanaged grants at her nonprofit swirled 12 years ago. Now he sounded like a man hedging bets. I just wanted to reach out, he said, voice slick. You might want to let this die quietly. The louder it gets, the worse it looks. You're worried about Diane's reputation, I replied. You should be. It's crumbling, and this time she gave me the tools to tear it down. Back off, Marcus, I added, my voice icy, or you'll be next. A pause, a sharp breath. Hannah, this could spiral. Be wise. I am being wise. That's what terrifies you. I ended the call. That evening I stayed off social media, but the world didn't stay away. My phone buzzed. Diane Thompson posted a new status. I waited, sipped the peppermint tea I didn't want, but made out of routine, then opened it. It's tough being a parent, it began. You try to raise your kids with love. You sacrifice, you steer, but sometimes, when hurt clouds a child's perspective, all they see is betrayal. No name, but everyone knew who it meant. Comments flooded in, church friends, old neighbors. Rachel's new in-laws. She's blessed to have you as a mom. Some kids turn sour no matter what you do. It's always about the money. I printed the post, all 72 comments, highlighted names, took screenshots of every mutual friend who hit like, then I handed them to my attorney. Don't respond, she said. I won't, I replied. But you will. Make them pay for every word, I added, my voice resolute. We began mapping the timeline. When Rachel first asked for the deposit loan, when Diane sent the budget that later shifted assets, when the house was listed with my name on the agreement, when the Google Drive folder was mysteriously wiped. I didn't need to argue online. I had a courtroom. 4 days later, an email arrived after lunch. Court date confirmed. Thompson v. Thompson, Civil Division, Room 306, hearing set for 4 weeks out. I stared at the date, then my reflection in the dining window softened by morning fog. They wanted to humiliate me, silence me, redefine me, but all they'd done was hone my focus. I turned from the window and spoke aloud to no one. You want a public fight? Fine. But I'm bringing every secret you hid. And I'll bury you with them, I added, my voice a vow. After closing the email, I didn't sit. I didn't dig through more evidence or prep for questions. I walked to the living room window, pulled back the curtain, and stared into the quiet dusk. Streetlights flickered on as the sky darkened, and I stood in silence, one hand on the curtain, the other pressed against my side, warm and steady. This wasn't about my wedding anymore. It hadn't been for a while. This was about years of being told what I could want, who I could be. I sat at my desk, opened my laptop, and created a new folder, Truth. Then I wrote my first post. No lead-in, no emotional preamble, just a title. My name is Hannah Thompson. Here's what they erased. Below I uploaded screenshots, one by one. Bank transfers from my account to Rachel's over the past 7 years, labeled venue deposit, catering emergency, travel reimbursement. The agreement Diane had typed, initial DT, promising to cover half the wedding costs once family finds a shaky video from my phone, filmed in my apartment kitchen last winter. Diane's voice, low, cutting. If you love him, you'll sign it. If not, you'll ruin everything we've done for you. Want to be another failure? I added the PayPal trail, the caterer invoice with both our names but only my signature, the guest list with my friends' names crossed out, no captions, no hashtags, just raw, meticulous proof. I hit post and shut the screen. When I woke at 6:15 a.m., the thread had been shared over 4,500 times. Comments poured in faster than I could skim. Strangers, old co-workers, silent allies who'd watched from the sidelines for years, and people asking, why would a family do this? Hannah, you're not alone. This is textbook manipulation. At 7:19 a.m., my phone rang. Unknown number, I answered. Hannah? Rachel's voice, brittle and trembling. What the hell are you doing? I'm telling the truth, I said simply. You're making Mom look awful. You're making us all look broken. You did that yourselves, I shot back, my voice searing. I'm just showing the world your lies. I waited. You think the internet will fix this? She spat. You think they'll care about you for dragging us through the mud? No, I replied calmly. I think they'll see I stopped letting someone else write my story. You tore us apart in private. I just stopped pretending it didn't happen. I hung up, then blocked the number. By noon, my lawyer called to confirm we were set to file the final counterclaim. I added the new evidence, she said. You sure about including the notarized statement from the bookkeeper? Yes, I answered. She was complicit. She gets named. No one escapes this, I added, my voice unwavering. That document was a shock. An old family bookkeeper had reached out quietly after seeing my post. She'd retired years ago, citing stress. In her notarized letter, she confirmed Diane had redirected funds meant for a nonprofit account in my name into a trust, controlled solely by her and Gordon. She included dates, transfer logs, even scans of doctored receipts. This wasn't just a messy split from my family, it was financial fraud. Documented, signed, and tied to my name without my consent. The updated counterclaim listed breach of fiduciary duty, financial misrepresentation, emotional distress, unjust enrichment. We printed it on cream stock and had it hand-delivered. I didn't check Instagram again that day. But that night, as I lay in bed, my phone buzzed. Unknown number. I didn't answer. Instead, I opened the screenshot folder and scrolled until my breathing steadied. The next morning brought a steady rain. I dressed in a charcoal sweater, hair tied back, boots low but solid. I didn't want to make a statement. I wanted to be the one who stood when others sat. The courthouse hallway was quiet, pale blue walls, long benches. Rachel was already seated at the far end, her lawyer beside her. She looked up when I entered but said nothing. Diane stood by the wall, arms crossed, avoiding my gaze. Gordon was there too, more like a probe than a person. He never met my eyes. The judge, an older woman with gray curls and a voice that tolerated no theatrics, asked both sides to keep emotions out of their presentations. This isn't a soap opera, she said sharply. It's civil court. Facts only. I let my lawyer handle most of it. Contracts, transfers, recordings. We submitted everything. When it was their turn, Diane's side tried to argue emotional instability, but the judge raised an eyebrow and demanded medical records. None appeared. By the end, there were no dramatic gavels, no gasps. The ruling was calm. Independent audits ordered. Hannah Thompson granted temporary legal authority over disputed funds, all remaining property matters to be settled through mediation. Diane didn't speak. Rachel stormed out. Gordon trailed without a glance. I didn't smile. This wasn't about triumph. It was about standing. You lost, I whispered to their retreating shadows, my voice a quiet victory. 3 weeks later, I returned to the Thompson house, what used to be home. I arrived unannounced mid-morning, holding a manila folder with the final settlement papers and the form removing my name from the deed. The front door was unlocked. I walked in, my flat soft on the oak floors. The hallway smelled the same, cedar and lemon polish. But it didn't feel like mine anymore. I paused in the dining room, ran my hand along the table where I used to sort holiday cards, past the staircase where I'd sat during college arguments, stood at the doorway of my old bedroom and barely recognized the girl who used to journal every time her mother said, "You're just too much." Nothing had changed. Everything had. I placed the folder on the dining table, then pulled my old keys from my purse and set them gently on top. I didn't knock. I didn't wait for anyone to see me. I stepped out and let the door click shut. "Goodbye. Forever," I whispered, my voice steady, free. A week later, a plain gray envelope arrived at my apartment. No return address. Inside was a personal check. The memo read, "Reimbursement for dress, venue, emotional damages. The amount, $42,870.00. Matched a spreadsheet I'd made early on. No note, no apology, just the check. I didn't cash it. I framed it under glass with a small silver plate engraved. They knew. It didn't heal me, but it proved I hadn't imagined it. Another week passed before I heard from Natalie again. Her name flashed on my screen during a quiet Saturday morning at a cafe by the Boise River. "I saw what you did," her text read. "If you need a partner for what's next, I'm in." I took a sip of my latte, watching a kayak glide across the water. My laptop was open, cursor blinking on a new document, Thompson and Lane Advocacy and Legal Support for Women in Crisis. The idea had been simmering since the courthouse. For every woman like me who found her way through the storm, there were 12 more still trapped, wondering if they were the problem. I set my mug down, typed the first line of the mission statement, and read it aloud. "Freedom isn't loud," I whispered. "Sometimes it's just the sound of no one pulling you back." And that, more than any ruling or headline, was the closure I'd been chasing. "I'm free," I added, my voice a quiet triumph. Sometimes the toughest fights aren't in courtrooms or at family dinners. They're the ones where you choose yourself over being accepted. If there's one thing I've learned, it's that family isn't built on silence or compliance. It's built on respect, accountability, and the right to speak your truth, even when it rattles the walls. I didn't win by hurting them. I won by walking away, by reclaiming the parts of me they tried to rewrite. And maybe that's the real takeaway here. Closure doesn't always look like justice in bold print. Sometimes it's just peace, and a quiet morning where no one's trying to control your life. What about you? Have you ever stayed silent to keep the peace, only to realize you were losing yourself? I'd love to hear your thoughts. If this story hit home, drop a 1 in the comments, or tell me where you're watching from. And if it didn't sit right, let me know why. I'm here to listen. If you want more stories like this, real, raw, human, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss what's next. You deserve to be heard. Let's keep the conversation going, and let's keep fighting for our truth.